My first day teaching in a Korean classroom. This video is very anticlimactic. My first day teaching, it wasn't anything crazy, it wasn't anything too exciting, but one of my viewers wanted to hear about my first day teaching in Korea. So I get up at 7 or 8 in the morning. The good thing is that I don't have to start teaching until 4 p.m. My school opens at 4 o'clock. My first class is at 4:05. So I get there real early, around 3:30. I have some things in my mind about what I want to do my first day. But to tell you the truth, I'm kind of nervous because I've never been the teacher in a classroom before. I've been a student, obviously, for the first 21 years of my life. And I wasn't really a great student. I was like a B student who really didn't try that hard. I was kind of a slacker, to be honest. I was the one in class quietly joking with my friends and making fun of the teacher. So now I'm that guy that the kids are joking about and making fun of. What a role reversal. I'm sitting at my new desk and I have 2 desks next to me because the other teacher is not there. The school usually has 2 English teachers, but now they're only hiring just me because they don't have enough students. So I have 2 big desks next to me. And I have all the workbooks and textbooks in front of me. I'm trying to understand the schedule. The kids come in and they have usually 2 classes of 40 minutes. They have a language class for 40 minutes with one of the teachers, one of 4 teachers, including myself. And then they sit in a listening lab and they listen to dictation. I've never sat in on their listening lab, I'm not sure, but they have 1 class or 1 or 2 classes and a listening lab. The first thing is I'm delighted to see that my classes are not very big. Some of my classes have 3, 4, 5 students. My biggest class was 10 or 11 students. But it was still not easy for my first time. So because I was new, I didn't want to bury the kids' noses in textbooks right away. I wanted to spend the first day just talking and getting to know these kids and their ability. So I spent the first day basically just talking about me and answering kids' questions. What I said was, I'm your new teacher. I would like to learn about you, and I would like you to learn about me. So ask me as many questions as you want, such as, where are you from? And it wasn't bad. I talked about where I'm from. I talked about my family. It was easily enough to fill 40 minutes for each class. What was hard was learning the students' names. Most Koreans have 3 names. If you're familiar with American baseball, maybe you know Chan-ho Park or Shin Soo-chu. All their names are 3 names, 3 syllables like that. But in my school, they give them English names because they're learning English. They have English names. And that's kind of fun when you get to give them a name. You let them pick their name. So I can just pluck a name of one of my friends out of the air and just say, you know, well, your new name now is Mike, for instance. And they love it. It actually took me about 5 weeks to memorize everybody's names. That's how long it takes me. It takes me a while to remember names. Luckily, the kids were not flying off the walls going crazy on my first day, or my first week at least. The smaller classes were easy to manage. You only have 3, 4, 5 students. You can talk to them, and if they get out of hand, you can just kind of give them a look and they're quiet. But my 1 or 2 classes where there were 9, 10, or 11 students, you think that they would be very respectful, but these are middle school kids, so you have to understand, they're in school at 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night after being in school all day. So I totally understand that they're a little bit tired and they don't want to work real hard mentally, and it's hard for them not to talk to their friends who are sitting right next to them. But they were talking to their friends, and it was very hard keeping their attention. And I learned very early you have to put something in their hands, an activity, a puzzle, a game. You have to put them in teams. It's very hard, but you have to keep them busy, and you can't talk to them very specifically in English because their English isn't that great. They only have basic English. They know words, but they can't put a sentence together perfectly. They know quiet. They'll know what quiet means, but if you say pay attention, they might not know what that means. So there was a little challenge there in keeping them in line, because their Korean teachers, of course, can yell at them and specifically tell them to shut up and sit down and pay attention, and they'll know what that means. But discipline, it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that big a deal. Looking back on it now, it's been 6 weeks. I have had to do some discipline things with almost every big class. You know, when a kid acts up, I have them just go outside and sit down outside in the hallway. Of the 3 or 4 times I've asked students to do that, they all just said no. I said, go outside and sit down. And they said no. I said, really? So I went and got one of the other teachers, and the Korean teacher went in there and yelled at them. Hey, it has to happen. The kids have to know that they have to sit down and be quiet. And just because I don't speak Korean doesn't mean that I'm not as important as everybody else. And that was it. When the day was done, it was about 9:30. I was wiped out. By the end of the day, my throat was so hoarse from trying to talk loud to telling the kids to quiet down. I realized that I was talking too much, or talking too loudly, or just wearing myself out, exerting too much energy. Something you learn when you're a beginner. What was nice was we get gimbap every night. My boss buys dinner, which is gimbap, which is like a long Korean sushi roll. Dinner was nice, and when I got home, it was around 10:30. I was so tired, I was wiped out, I just crashed in my bed. And day number 2 was pretty much the same. So that was my first day teaching in a Korean class.